The streets of Manila were always alive with chaos, vendors shouting, jeepneys honking, people rushing to work. In the middle of that noise, one voice always rose above the rest. Rafael, a thin boy with messy black hair and eyes full of dreams, stood beside a broken lamppost, holding a cheap microphone connected to a small, crackling speaker. His clothes were worn, but when he sang, the world seemed to pause. His voice carried a kind of sadness that came from hunger, loss, and hope all at once. Every note told a story of struggle, yet there was beauty in it, a strange light that drew people in. Passers-by often stopped for a moment, some smiled, some dropped coins in his old guitar case, and some just listened with tears in their eyes before walking away. Rafael wasn't just singing for attention, he was singing to survive. His mother sold fruits nearby at a small roadside stall. Every peso he earned helped them eat for the night. He had been singing since his father passed away 2 years ago, and music became his only escape. At night, after the market closed, Rafael would sit on the rooftop of their small shack, staring at the stars, dreaming of stages bigger than the street corner he knew so well. He didn't know how or when, but deep inside he believed that one day, someone would hear him. One rainy afternoon, when the sky was dark and the streets were nearly empty, Rafael continued to sing despite the downpour. His voice cracked from the cold, his clothes soaked, but he refused to stop. A foreign tourist, holding an umbrella, stood nearby filming him quietly. The man was moved by the boy's passion, unaware that his short video would soon change Rafael's life. That night, the man uploaded the video to social media with the caption, "The voice of a Filipino street angel." Within hours, it spread like wildfire. Millions of people watched it, shared it, and commented with words like, "Incredible, heartbreaking," and "The world needs to hear him." But while the internet buzzed with his voice, Rafael had no idea what was happening. He was asleep beside his mother, unaware that his world was about to change forever. The next morning, Rafael woke up to people outside their house cheering and calling his name. Confused, he ran outside to find cameras, microphones, and reporters waiting. His mother didn't understand what was happening until a journalist showed them the viral video. Tears filled her eyes as she watched her son sing on a stranger's phone screen, his voice reaching millions. Reporters asked him questions he didn't know how to answer. All he could say was, "I just sing to help my mom." That simple sentence melted hearts all over the world. A few days later, Rafael received an email that left everyone speechless. It was an official invitation to audition for America's Got Talent. At first, he thought it was a joke. But when the producers called and confirmed, reality hit. He couldn't believe it. Him, a boy from the streets of Manila, was being given a chance to sing on one of the biggest stages in the world. His mother cried as she hugged him tightly. The whole community came together to celebrate, raising money for his plane ticket, some donating clothes, others offering prayers. As Rafael packed his small bag, he looked around his humble home and whispered to his mother, "Ma, I'm scared, but I'll do it for you." She smiled through tears and said, "You already made me proud, Anik. Just sing with your heart." On the day of his flight, the neighborhood gathered at the airport, waving and shouting his name as he walked toward the plane. The boy who once sang for coins under the Manila rain was now flying toward a dream that once felt impossible, carrying the hopes of everyone who ever believed that miracles can come from the streets. When Rafael stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage, the world around him seemed to stop. The lights were brighter than anything he had ever seen, and the audience stretched endlessly before him like an ocean of faces. His hands trembled as he gripped the microphone. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest, so hard that he thought the judges might hear it. Simon Cowell, sitting in the middle, leaned forward and asked gently, "What's your name?" Rafael swallowed hard before answering, "My name is Rafael, I'm from the Philippines." The crowd cheered, and for a moment, the fear faded. When Simon asked what brought him there, Rafael said quietly, "I used to sing on the streets to help my mother. I just want to make her proud." His voice cracked, but the sincerity in his tone moved everyone. The lights dimmed, the music began, and Rafael took a deep breath. The first note he sang was soft but pure, and as the melody carried on, the strength in his voice grew. The crowd fell silent. His voice was filled with both pain and beauty, like he was pouring out every memory of hunger, rain, and hope into every lyric. Some people in the audience closed their eyes, others wiped away tears. Even the judges sat frozen, completely mesmerized. When he reached the final high note, his voice soared through the theater like a promise fulfilled. The moment the music stopped, the silence was broken by thunderous applause. The entire audience rose to their feet, clapping and cheering as confetti began to fall. Simon Cowell looked at Raphael with glistening eyes and said, "That was something I'll never forget." Then he reached forward and pressed the golden buzzer. Golden confetti rained from above as Raphael stood frozen in disbelief. He covered his face with his hands as tears streamed down. The host rushed on stage, hugging him, while the audience continued cheering. In that instant, Raphael wasn't the poor street singer from Manila anymore, he was a star. Back home, his mother was watching the performance on TV with their neighbors. When the confetti fell, she cried uncontrollably, whispering prayers of gratitude. The next morning, news outlets across the world were talking about the Filipino street boy who won America's heart. As days turned into weeks, Raphael's life transformed completely. He was invited to interviews, red carpets, and TV shows. He met other contestants, producers, and fans who admired him deeply. Yet, behind the cameras, things were not as easy as they looked. The sudden fame felt overwhelming. He missed his mother, his home, and the comfort of the familiar streets. Everything in this new world moved too fast, and everyone wanted something from him. His managers pushed him to record songs and attend rehearsals non-stop. He smiled for the cameras, but inside, he felt lost. One night, after a long rehearsal, Raphael sat alone in his hotel room and looked out the window. The city lights of Los Angeles sparkled like stars, but they didn't feel warm. He picked up his phone and called his mother. Hearing her voice made his chest tighten. She told him, "Don't forget who you are, Anik. The world can be big and noisy, but your heart is what people fell in love with." Those words gave him strength. The next morning, he went back to rehearsal with renewed energy, determined not to let the pressure break him. Fame came with both love and hate. Some people praised him endlessly, while others criticized him online. But Raphael focused on what mattered most, his music. He started writing songs about his journey, about the streets that made him strong, and about his mother's sacrifices. When people asked how he stayed humble despite the fame, he simply said, "Because I've already known what it's like to have nothing." Though far from home, Raphael carried the spirit of his people, singing not just for himself but for every dreamer who believed that even from the smallest corners of the world, a voice can rise and touch the stars. The night of the grand finals arrived, and the air inside the America's Got Talent studio buzzed with anticipation. Raphael stood backstage, holding his microphone close to his chest, his palms damp with sweat. He could hear the thunder of applause as the host announced his name. As he stepped onto the stage, the lights blinded him once again, but this time he was not afraid. He looked out at the thousands of faces, the cameras, the judges, and thought of his mother sitting in their small home in Manila, watching on television with tears in her eyes. The stage no longer felt intimidating, it felt like home. When the music began, the soft piano notes filled the air, and Raphael closed his eyes. He had chosen a song that meant everything to him, "The Wind Beneath My Wings," a tribute to his mother, the woman who believed in him before the world ever did. As he sang, his voice carried more than just melody, it carried emotion so deep it silenced the entire theater. Every word was a confession, every note a thank you to the woman who sacrificed her life for his dreams. The big screens behind him showed images from his childhood, him singing on the streets, helping his mother at the fruit stall, smiling through the rain. The audience was in tears. Simon Cowell looked down, visibly moved, while the other judges held their hands over their hearts. When he reached the final note, his voice cracked with emotion, and that imperfection made it even more powerful. The song ended in complete silence before the audience erupted into applause, louder than anything Raphael had ever heard. The crowd rose to their feet once again, clapping, crying, and cheering his name. Simon stood up and said softly, "Raphael, that was not just a performance. That was life itself in a song." The other judges agreed, praising his authenticity, his courage, and his heart. The host placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, whispering, "You made history tonight." Raphael smiled through tears, his voice trembling as he said, "This is for my mom." Back home, his mother fell to her knees, overwhelmed with emotion. The neighbors cheered and clapped as they watched the moment live on television. For them, he wasn't just a contestant, he was the pride of their entire community. Whether he won or not no longer mattered, he had already achieved something greater. He had touched millions of hearts across the world. When the results were announced later that night, Raphael came in second place, but the crowd booed softly because they believed he deserved the win. Simon Cowell approached him and said, "Sometimes the real winner isn't the one who gets the trophy, it's the one who changes lives. That's you." Those words stayed with Raphael forever. The show ended, but his journey had just begun. He received offers from record labels, invitations from talk shows, and collaborations from international artists. But amid the flashing lights and attention, Raphael's heart was already pulling him back home. When he finally returned to the Philippines, the airport was filled with thousands of fans waving flags and banners that read, "Welcome home, our golden voice." Raphael was overwhelmed. He hugged his mother tightly, and both cried uncontrollably. The cameras flashed, but in that moment, it wasn't about fame, it was about love. He visited his old street corner where he once sang for coins. The lamppost was still there, and the same smell of roasted corn filled the air. People gathered as he began to sing again, this time with a microphone connected to professional speakers. His voice echoed across the streets, the same streets that once shaped his dreams. Raphael used a large part of his prize money to open a small music school for underprivileged children. He named it, the Golden Voice Academy, dedicated to kids who had talent but no opportunity. He taught them not just to sing but to believe in themselves. At the opening ceremony, he told the crowd, "I was once a boy singing under the rain. If I can stand here today, so can you." His mother stood proudly beside him, tears of joy glistening in her eyes. As the sun set, Raphael performed one last song for his people, his voice strong and full of gratitude. The crowd sang along, their voices rising with his, filling the air with hope. That night, Raphael realized that true success wasn't about winning, it was about coming home and giving back the love that lifted him from the streets to the stars.